Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. We begin with a note that ushers in a glimmer of hope amidst despair. President Sako's bold stand, worth commending. Well, in times when shadows loom over Amazonia with the heavy cloud of illegality and injustice cast by Ayaba Atanga and the ominous La Republic Proxies, a beacon of hope flickers persisted against the gust of despair. At the heart of this beacon stands President Sako, a figure of resilience, empathy, and unwavering commitment. During this recent federal government exit draft with the Midlands zone, he didn't just speak, he reached into the hearts of many, stirring a powerful wave of solidarity that rippled across the gathering, culminating in a remarkable collection of over 50,000 US dollars. This war chest, meticulously earmarked to counter the dark schemes of the La Republic Proxies, symbolizes more than just funds. It is a testament to the collective aspiration for justice, autonomy, and the dignity of Amazonia. The poignant narrative, however, takes a somber turn with the aftermath of the Benda disaster, which echoes through the corridors of time and are the haunting realities faced by those caught in the crossfire of negligence and unkept promises as well. The heart-wrenching story of an investor, a beacon of economic hope for many, succumbing to despair, in a stark reminder of the grim realities plaguing the land of Amazonia. The silence and inaction following the calamity in Benda not only exposes the vacuous assurances peddled by the CPDM loyalists, but also underscores a chilling negligence towards the plight of the peoples of Amazonia. Well, as we stand at the this juncture, between the inspiring stand of President Sako and the poignant echoes of despair from Benda, it is crucial to remember the intertwining threads of hope and sorrow, lest this be a clarion call to all Amazonians and supporters of justice everywhere to channel the collective outrage, solidarity, and resources to not only challenge but to dismantle the chains of oppression. The journey is daunting, the path fraught with setbacks. Yet, inspired by President Sako's valor and moved by the silent cries from Benda, we find the resolve to press forward, for in the struggle intertwined with sorrow and hope lies the essence of the shared humanity and indomitable spirit of Amazonia. We will get into the depths of these stories right after we get the prime headlines.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Bamenda Main Market Action claims another life after over 2 months of the unfortunate incident where other CPDM loyalists and colonial administrators with their lofty promises. A mother of three brutally killed by unknown gunmen in Bamenda is another report for tonight. Meanwhile, in a reverting condemnation of Ayaba, Atanga and La Republic de Cameroon Proxies illegality, President Sako secures over 50,000 US dollars in one night at Midland exit draft for the federal government. On the African scene, Kenya postpones reopening of schools by 1 week. Why is that? That you should find out. Meanwhile, Trump maintains lead over Biden in 2024 matchup as views on their presidencies diverge on the foreign scene. Now let's get the news and food briefings. That Ambazonians from the Savannah Zone to the Atlantic Zone are ready and willing to break free from the chains of slavery under La République du Cameroon colonial government. There might be some points of divergence on the method of conducting the fight for the liberation of Federal Republic of Ambazonia, former British Southern Cameroons, but the objective for the freedom of Ambazonia is an unanimous one. Instituted in 2017, Monday Ghost Town has never lost steam. The streets of Ambazonia today, the 19th of April, were abandoned to the ghost with all its businesses locked and even colonial offices. Well, this is where we'll begin the full briefings of Under tonight. How are you doing, Star?
Splendid, don't you? Well, the streets of Amazonia in general and Bamenda particularly are void of activities because it's another Monday, 29th April 2024, as all and sundry remained at home in observation of the Monday Ghost Town. Monday Ghost Town has become a part and parcel of the peoples of Amazonia's way of life, and everyone has readjusted their programs to give the Monday Ghost Town the deserved respect. Well, Monday in Amazonia, like the one of today, is reserved mostly for sporting activities and different meetings, be it quarter or family members. Well, looking at the streets of Bamenda, one can probe into the minds of Amazonians in their homes a strong sentence saying, La Republique has to go. The purpose of the institution of the Monday Ghost Towns by the Amazonian government was to make Amazonia ungovernable by the colonial administration, in other words, to frustrate La Republique's activities in Amazonia.
The financial loss for La Republic to Cameroon as a result of the Monday Ghost Town is enormous. The reason why the colonial government, through different colonial administrators, have done all they could to fight the Monday Ghost Towns to no avail. Even if the Monday Ghost Town is having a financial impact on the people of Amazonia, the sacrifice is worth the glory that awaits them when Amazonia regains its independence. The ongoing war in the southern Cameroons has brought untold hardship, inflation, economic crisis, and insecurity escalating across the national territory of Amazonia. A clear case of bad governance and the consequence of the Franco-Cameroon laissez-faire culture. These acts seem to be getting intense. We have on a regular basis given reports on how even the colonial deals are involved in kidnapping and ransom taking. Insecurities in the southern Cameroons is getting worrisome, and as such, the ASA needs to be supported, and hence the reason why the draft must be taken seriously. The insecurity in Bamenda, the southern Cameroons, is largely due to ongoing war of independence that has been raging on for 8 years today. The conflict has its roots in grievances that dates back to the end of colonialism, when the British-controlled territory was wrongfully unified with French areas to create what is now La République du Cameroon. The war has claimed tens of thousands of lives while forcing more than 1 million to flee to French Cameroon and other neighboring countries.
Well, the spillovers of the war include cases of gang robbery, car theft, kidnappings, abductions, rape, phone seizures, and so many more. The, these have exacerbated the plight of the people who have been under siege for over 63 years. The situation has led to a high level of insecurity in Bamenda local government area, affecting the daily lives of its residents because Bamenda has unfortunately become a hotbed of insecurity, being the epicenter of the Amazonian conflict, with the Amazonian State Army clashing with the Occupied La Republic's government forces and civilians bearing the brunt of the war. Bamenda is equally plagued by crime and lawlessness, as gangs and armed bandits have taken advantage of the chaos to engage in extortion, robbery, and other criminal activities. According to Makati News, based in Bamenda, armed men intercepted two motorcycles, put down the people on it, and took the motorcycles away on Sunday, April 28, 2024, just yesterday in broad daylight at Sonak Street under the watchful eyes of passers-by, like it was a movie.
Meanwhile, in a related development, Makati News also adds that gunmen stormed a particular Kenwood Hotel at New Road, Bamenda during a wedding reception and deprived guests of their properties recently, and that the thieves surrounded guests on their tables, demanding their phones and wallets, then proceeded into the hotels at the counter to ask for money. They entered the few cash and banknotes inside the drawer of the hotel before taking to their heels. This was the second act of attack in a wedding in Bamenda local government area. The last one was at my 3 in Quim, where all belongings were taken away. We also understand that unemployment is also a major factor. Research has proven that most companies in Ambazonia region are not functioning. Young men and girls who are supposed to be working are gallivanting with nothing to do.
Well, in another development, the traders in the Bamenda fire arson who have suffered the most in the struggle, they have been used as political tools in the hands of colonial La Republique. They were manipulated and mandated on march on International Women's Day in March 8. Well, just to show solidarity to President Biya that they have been cajoled to pay a certain amount of funds to help in the reconstruction of the burnt markets. With all of these and more, the market is yet to stand. Traders are still suffering the effects from the burnt markets.
The aftermath of the outing of the Mamendo main market is here. Empty promises by colonial administrators and CPDM loyalists still wouldn't suffice. Apparently, we are receiving reports that a certain lady who lost 2 shops as a result of that unfortunate fire incident has died out of frustration. We are told that many others are currently living in depression. A report from Bamender has it that a woman has lost her life due to this sad event. The woman was one of the market victims with 2 shops completely burned down in the fire incident at the Bamenda main market. We must also mention here also that nothing so far has been given to the victims as promised by the failed Yaoundé government. Worst of all, in the Yaoundé launched a scheme to assist these victims and millions were collected. Since, yet, the atmosphere is mute about the victims' assistance.
Well, the situation has given sleepless nights to many of the victims owing to the fact that their loan repayment schedule has been altered and their interest on loan keeps accumulating. Instead of focusing on how the women will get their businesses back to life, back in shape. On the contrary, the CPDM junta is begging victims to register to vote their natural candidates so that they would be compensated. Well, this particular victim, this woman, has complained of headache and dizziness after the incident, and finally she succumbed to the stress.
Moving on, the rise of insecurity is raising more tension in size, robbery, and kidnapping. Killings are going on intensely in the Amazonian communities, not just Bamenda. This is another reason why we can't totally rely on the colonial army and police as they have failed to protect the people. Fear, pain, and consternation grips the people of Mbengui Road in Bamenda yesterday, Sunday, April 28, at about 10 p.m. as one of theirs, a mother of 3, was shot at close range by unknown gunmen. The woman died on the spot. The question is, what did this woman do? And most importantly, who are even these unknown gunmen?
Well, the victim, whose name was got as Munji Bernice and hails from Awing, Santa subdivision, is said to be a seamstress at the Bamenda main market, and her husband is currently in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. An eyewitness told Undaunted in Bamenda that the woman was returning from a family meeting together with some of her family members on board 3 cars. The car which she was on board dropped her at Mbongam Junction, Bengui Road. As she started climbing the hill to her residence, gunmen appeared right in front of her and she was shot right in the head and chest. She died on the spot, according to reports.
Well, the same gunmen opened fire at the car that dropped her and injured 1 occupant. Fortunately, the driver was fast to kick off the car and rushed the injured person to a health facility in Bamenda for medical attention. Well, according to eyewitness, says the mom I know does not even have friends. She's such a quiet and calm lady. You can never see her arguing with someone. She leaves in the morning to work and back later in the evening. She's always indoors. If you are seeing her, it's only when she's going to work on Sundays or if she's going for meetings. Well, this was what an eyewitness disclosed.
The motive behind the killing of the woman still remains unknown, and the gunmen who carried out the attack are also yet to be identified. According to our source, they said they came purposefully for this particular lady because the people who killed her stood at the 2 entrances leading to this woman's house, and it shows that it was something that was planned. Well, like you heard, the report is still a developing one. Details of it and their intentions, who sent them, and who they really are still yet to be uncovered. Until then, we'll keep you up to speed on this one.
Well, before we get into our next report, we have Barrister Tim Basia in the house. Would want him to air his thoughts on some of the reports that we have here. Good
Thank you
evening,
for having
Barrister
me.
Basia.
Yes, I'm right here, and thank you for having me.
Sincerest apologies for
Just,
keeping you waiting.
yeah, no problem. Just the first day of the week, or secondly, we may say, the news is so rich that it's richer than the previous week. But the news centers on two issues, on two main ideas. First, on Saturday, we had the Midland draft. And today is Monday. The Midland draft includes Mezam in general and Bamenda in particular. And then today on Monday, the news on the air, the report of the news I've listened to from you concerns Mezam. People being shot, women being killed, hotels being invaded, ghost towns being respected. What does that mean to us? We'll not get what it means until we go back to the events before the draft. We all remember that earlier in the week, or just before this draft on Saturday, we saw this ambassador of France in Bamenda, the direct agent of Macron in Bamenda, paying a visit. The choice of Bamenda was not in error. They chose Bamenda because Bamenda is an epic center. They believe if Bamenda goes well, Ambazona goes well for them. And so to understand what is going on in Bamenda, just today, after the draft, before the draft, after the draft, and today, we have to look at it in the context of what the ambassador of France said or did in Bamenda. His main message was non-spoken. We saw him carrying peace plans. In other words, peace has returned. Two, spoken. He said and announced he was coming to develop Bamenda. And he announced fabulous sums of money that they are pouring in there. To do what? To create jobs, bring the administration nearer the people. And so I hope the news is not for us. I hope President Macron of France, I don't even need to talk about Yaoundé. I hope he's finding the news. I hope his ambassador is finding the news to tell him that his journey to Bamenda was a failure. If it was not a failure, I heard him make a comment there. There are a good number of the guys, the unidentified people committing crimes in Bamenda, are unemployed youths. If they are unemployed, in spite of the promise of the ambassador of France to bring them thousands of jobs by pumping fictitious billions to the Bamenda town council, whatever it is, then Macron must have known that his messenger has not delivered the right message. They didn't deliver the right message. And then let me go back now to what we did on Saturday in the draft. What the president said and what we did in drafting speak for themselves. The president told us.
Barrister Basia, we'll definitely come back to that. We have a special section where we'll talk about the draft and everything that happened on Saturday. So since you're already there, just hold on a bit. Let's take the report and then get back to you while you give us your own take on the draft and everything the president said. Just hold on for this particular report.
Right on to the draft of the Midlands of Saturday. Well, amidst rising tensions, President Sako took a firm stand against what he deemed the extreme illegality perpetrated by Ayaba Atanga, and Proxies of the La Republique in the Amazonian National Territory. While addressing a captivated audience at the recent Midlands exit draft event for the federal government on Saturday, President Sako delivered a riveting speech that not only highlighted the ongoing issues but also successfully galvanized support, amassing over 50,000 US dollars in funds over the course of the evening. The funds are earmarked to counter the actions of the La Republique Proxies, signaling a significant pushback against their activities in Amazonia. Stakeholders present at the event lauded President Sako's exceptional oratory skills and his strategic approach to escalating the fight for justice and autonomy in the nation. This financial show of support marks a pivotal moment in Amazonia's ongoing liberation movement. An unwavering fight against French Cameroon's belligerent occupation, underscoring the nation's resolve to challenge the encroachments with renewed vigor. What is of great inspiration is that President Sako's bold speech raised the 50,000 US dollars to challenge La Republique Proxies in Amazonia. You would agree with me, that is amazing. Well, let's get the highlights of the speech before we get into the intricacies.
Fellow Ambazonians, I welcome you to the most consequential zone in the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Consequential in terms of the critical numbers, in terms of raw momentum, in terms of the will and the dogged resolve to stand up for what is ours. As I said elsewhere, this is the heart of our struggle, out of which the revolution was born and from where it proceeds. Our idea of Amazonia was born here. Placenta was buried here. We nurtured it from here for years and gave it the present expression. I can truly say here that if the Midland is breathing, Amazonia is doing well. Notwithstanding, great strength is not the absence of flaws, because even power itself is a two-edged sword. If we wield it skillfully, we will crush our enemy. But if we wield it awkwardly, we hurt ourselves. I call on you all to contribute your numbers and strength to bring down this mountain before us. So whatever God has given you in this zone was meant to free Amazonia at a time like this. Don't be selfish. Do not abandon the funding of this revolution because someone you met in the corridors of this revolution offended you. Why is it that this vehicle now rotates almost around the president? So does it mean if I take my leave today, this house will crumble? Can we rise above division and hate and just work for Amazonia? Avoid getting involved in sectarian wars and attitudes. Disagree but without a fight, knowing you may agree tomorrow. Fellow Amazonians, let us be reminded here that we are now the government. Let us act as one. If any spy from the international community enters our forum to vet us, for example, he should see a focused and dignified people. As the government of Amazonia, we are the unifying umbrella of all the actors of this struggle. We are now the sole authority that speaks for the majority of our people. Everybody from the home front to the diaspora. And even those who think we don't represent them because they disagree with us are either ignorant or feigning ignorance. We speak for all, including our haters and the one Cameroon cowards. In democracy, leadership is the will of the majority, not the dictate of the 100%. Those in positions of authority, from LGAs to counties or central government, must start exercising authority in real time to give direction to our people at home, and the central government issuing executive orders over our national territory instead of Yaoundé. Dear Amazonia State Armed Forces, just a reminder, you are now the officers of the state of the Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. You are not Amber Boys, and you are no longer ARF, Amazonia Restoration Forces, because restoration was done since 2017. You are now the armed forces of the restored government of Amazonia in exile. So those French-speaking killers of our babies, children, parading our villages in uniform are not officers. They are criminals and impostors that have no place in Amazonia. The draft this year is for a more strategic purpose we call the ultimate plan. But I can tell you one thing. This year and next, we will do everything in the book to stop every illegal elections on electioneering from taking place in Amazonia. This is a do or die assignment in our existential struggle. We must win this time in a way that those who counted us out must eat their words. Those who surrendered prematurely must be covered with ashes of shame. And even our enemy must acknowledge their loss this time. We need your might, your courage, your ingenuity, and you are all on board for a successful year. We will work directly with you, with those of you who are the genuine defenders of the state of the people of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. My dear financial warriors, the government of the Southern Cameroons was designed to stand on three legs: the LGAs, the counties, and the federal government. Today, many counties are operating as counties with no local government structures because of what happened to us in 2022. And that means 3 minus 1 leg. If we have only 2 legs left, the counties and the federal government, how can it be taught that the federal government should not get involved now? Besides, how can we consider that we, the final authorities over the armed forces, have no strong ties with the ground? How can we represent a force with such strings of loose loyalty? And how can we build one army with 13 command centers without a central command? You have encouraged me all. You have made it lighter for me. Please remember those who have drafted their lives, the ASA. Some have died in this altar of sacrifice. You withholding your substance, your reasons notwithstanding, is a disappointment to our people, dead and alive. This is our assignment of a lifetime. Let's finish it eloquently. Let's give our best without excuses. You are of the finest breeds of selfless Ambazonians that continue to give where you have nothing to gain in return. Thanks in advance. Let us take the smile off their faces tonight with a verdict. Viva the Ambazonian State Army and viva the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And God bless you for participating.
Visiting the historic address to the nation. On the 31st of December 2023, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Sako, said the restoration of the government of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia marks the end of an era of confusion. These and many more are the reason for the exit draft that must be taken very seriously by every bona fide Ambazonian in order to break the yoke of colonialization, slavery, subjugation, and annihilation once and for all.
Well, after the 2023 year of acceleration that witnessed so much media and diplomatic outreach, the federal government christened the year 2024 that of exit to give the colonial annexationist genocido La République the final knockout. The kickoff that was launched by the Savannah Zone yielded over $50,000, excluding pledges. And today, prior to the Midlands Zone Draft 2024 that took place just on Saturday, April 27th, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Sako, made a fervent appeal to all Ambazonian financial warriors to bring someone new, bring back someone who slipped off, and added that all hands need to be on deck to kick out the enemy. His appeal brought in another colossal sum of $50,690 excluding pledges. Well, now let's get into the details of the president's speech from over the weekend. Following the recognition of various individuals and groups in positions of authority, the ASA, and all in his usual manner, the president proceeded to underscore the significance of the Midlands Zone, characterizing the Midlands Zone as possessing vital numbers, unbridled momentum, and resolute determination. The president suggested that the inception and nurturing of the Ambazonian War of Independence took place within this very Midland Zone. From the president's discourse, you get to see it is very apparent that the Midland Zone will wield considerable influence in shaping the outcome of the liberation struggle. Let's take a listen.
As I said elsewhere, this is the heart of our struggle, out of which the revolution was born, and from where it proceeds. Our idea of Ambazonia was born here. Its placenta was buried here. We nurtured it from here for years and gave it the present expression. I believe the people of this zone will ultimately decide in a significant way if we win or lose this fight. My people of Meza, Momo, Libialem, and Manu, you have been number one in many things in our struggle. Momo conceived Ambazonia. Here in Abakwa, the resistance was declared in 2017. In Manu, the first guns of this war were shot, and in Libialem, our guerrilla strategy was perfected. And you are still number one in funding our endeavor. Ambazonia is still counting on this your strength.
In democracy, leadership is the will of the majority, not the dictate of the 100%. These are the words of the president that struck a chord. The president emphasizes on the importance of effective leadership and clear direction at all levels of government, from local to central. President Sako highlighted the need for proactive action by local government chairpersons, urging them to assert their authority rather than deferring to outdated practices or other officials. The mention of colonial deals in this part of the president's speech shows the desire to move away from historical influences and towards more assertive independent governors, stating and starting with the local government chairs.
In democracy, leadership is the will of the majority, not the dictate of the 100%. Those in positions of authority, from LGAs to counties or central government, must start exercising authority in real time to give direction to our people at home. For instance, LGA chairs should start issuing orders as needed instead of allowing colonial DOs and mayors to do so. County coordinators or chairs should issue executive orders on issues of law and order in their counties instead of colonial SDOs and governors doing so. And the central government issues orders, executive orders over our national territory instead of Yaoundé.
Oh, well, while talking about roles and authority, the Amazonian State Army was the next the president addressed. The president emphasizes the importance of the Amazonian State Army embracing their role as officers of the Amazonian government rather than just being seen as rebel fighters. There is a call for unity and a clear delineation of roles within the armed forces from the president's speech, with a warning against criminals and imposters infiltrating the ranks of the ASA. The reference to 7 years in the trenches, as made by the president, reveals the prolonged struggle and desire for perseverance and commitment to the cause of justice and liberation.
Dear Ambazonia State Armed Forces, just a reminder, you are now the officers of the state of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. You are not Amber Boys, and you are no longer ARF, Ambazonia Restoration Forces, because restoration was done since 2017. You are now the armed forces of the restored government of Ambazonia in exile. So those French-speaking killers of our babies, children, parading our villages in uniform are not officers. They are criminals and impostors that have no place in Ambazonia. The draft this year is for a more strategic purpose we call the ultimate plan. After 7 years in the trenches, we have nothing to teach you. We will, however, strategize together and encourage ourselves to work together to fight as a team and win. Your relationship with our people in the home front is one of interdependence. They depend on you for protection, and you depend on them for survival. The black legs who are giving out information about your location and movement will only thrive amongst the population if the population is against you.
President Sako further talked about the internal divisions within the Amazonian independence movement, with some detractors cutting hand to the population through counterproductive actions to the cause and working against the Amazonian struggle. The analogy of the Israelites regretting leaving Egypt and preferring slavery to the challenges of the wilderness implies that some may be swayed by short-term comforts or illusions of stability rather than enduring the hardships of the fight for independence. The call to stop these bad elements and hired spoilers, as said by President, suggests a need for internal vigilance and unity to counteract those who are actively sabotaging the liberation movement from within.
Those tormenting our population with illegal lockdowns, checkpoints, arrests, torture, and even death are not with us in this fight. They are working for the enemy who want to turn the population against us. Ayaba and his fellow catechist at Atanga understand that when the Israelites left Egypt joyfully and started suffering in the wilderness, they regretted and desired to go back into slavery, preferring the cucumbers of Egypt to the promised land of milk and honey. You should understand also that honey is sweet, but if you add aloe vera to it, some children will not take it, even if that is supposed to be the cure to their malaise. Hence, all the good soldiers must do all to stop these bad elements and hired spoilers and shame them anytime they act out of character.
Well, finally, President Sako addressed concerns about fragmented command structures within the military and the need for a centralized command that can effectively represent Amazonia both nationally and internationally. President Sako addressed criticism of direct government engagement with the armed forces by comparing it to existing direct engagements by other entities, summarily calling all and sundry to draft as excuses for not drafting will not give Amazonia the independence that she seeks. Well, we'll see how Barrister Tim and Basie are in the studios with us. We've got some very pertinent questions regarding to the president's speech, which I'm sure that he would like to tend to. Barrister Tim and Basie, I think first of all, I want to get what you think about the president's speech. How do you think this speech you just heard? This is snippets of the speech he gave. How do you think it impacted the draft of Saturday? How do you think this speech impacted the draft of Saturday?
Well, I think it impacted the draft a lot. But I would also think that even before the speech, because we're making the speech just to start the draft, the draftees, most of them have already made up their mind to come and draft. We're already sitting on the table there to draft. So it affected the draft by laying out the foundation, by laying out a roadmap. It used the draft to send messages, important messages as far as this struggle is concerned, to Ambazonians, to strangers, even to opponents alike. And so if you're asking me what he did, I would say that it was one of the best speeches delivered on a rightful occasion for the rightful moment. And you may find snippets of it right there. When the president, in fact, most politicians, who include the president, take every word that comes out of their mouth with a bit of caution. Don't see words for what they are. When the president says, for example, that the zone, the Midlands zone, was the epicenter of the revolution, he gave a few examples. He said, the name Ambazonian was not just there. Remember, Gojidinka brought the name Ambazonia. It comes from Wideko. The war itself started in Mamfe. That was the takeoff of this struggle. The independence was declared in Bamenda, Bakwadang, and we are still here. And the real sense, the intelligence behind the struggle, behind the weaponry that we have, was born in the BLM. Remember, there are so many, this and that, all these weapons that we have manufactured were the brainchild from the BLM. So that was a very important message, properly taught, well delivered for the rightful purpose. And again, if you have another message you want me to continue, I don't know whether you have another question before I can continue.
Yes, Barrister Mbesia, the president talked about Ayaba and his manipulative ways. I know that you would want to join your thoughts there.
Yes, over the whole week and the time before, we've been talking about Ayaba and his so-called ADF. But luckily, when we landed in the Midlands last Saturday, events were already unfolding. And the president needed to remind the listeners, to remind us that terrorizing people, terrorizing your own, you are not in this revolution. And specifically, you're not in the revolution. And our citizens can only take so much. As I say, it landed because I remember just last week, before the draft started, we saw people in Momo, in Batigo, reacting to Ayaba dogs, chasing them away. I said, I don't want, I no longer need you. Going forward after the draft, has this message sent? Yes. Has Ayaba stopped? No. If the news I watched this morning is true, as late as yesterday, the Ayaba tax collectors gathered a number of people to collect money from them. They were driving their own cars, and they did all this. But the most important thing that came out of it is that the people did not let them go. They stood against them, and if the story are true, 3 or more of them were killed. And so the message is sinking that we do not need to turn our guns on our own people. I can only use it to connect to what you said in the news. The woman was shot. They say unidentified men. We just wish that there was nobody pretending to be fighting for Amazonia. It could not be us. We don't turn our guns on our own. And that will only help us. Again, for whoever is in Amazonia, especially those in urban towns, you have to be a guarantor of your own security. Yes, go and do your activities, but it's most advisable to be sure you come back home before the darkness falls. Because that lady who was shot, I'm told, if the news is true, so we come back a little bit late in the night. It was really dark. Because I want to assume that she had come back earlier in the day. She might never have met that unfortunate event. And so the president delivered the message. Ayaba is not part of us. And by saying Ayaba, we mean so many things. They include AGOFC. They include the ADF fighters. And whoever has to do with them. They are not for this struggle. Maybe they will be for the struggle tomorrow. If they change their ways, repent, and be real Amazonians. Otherwise, as of now, as the president says, I think most of us agree, Ayaba is not part of us in this struggle. He is part of the enemy. And if we must eliminate every enemy for now, they are part of the people that need to be eliminated. Over to you.
Yes, please. Barrister Mbesia, do you think that the speech by the president made lots of impact? What, if yes, you would have to share your thought on that. But if not, what other aspects would you think that the president would have laid more emphasis on?
I think environment about only sees the opportunity to expatiate on some of the things that he said. He said something very important. He said, look, you told our ASAs, you are no longer Amber Boys. You are the Ambazonian government, state government army. You mean more than that. And he said, this idea of a government that we represent should be bought into, even by our own opponents. For what does it hurt you saying that you have restored the government that Pobia and Ahijo abolished. It hurts you nothing. So even our opponents, if they listen to us, listen to the president, they should have no reason to complain. And I think on one other segment before the president spoke, when I had the opportunity to talk about it, I said the idea of this government that was restored has solved so many problems. First, to our opponents in Yaoundé, it resolves that what they have been arguing all along, we don't know who to talk to. You have to talk to the Ambazonian government because Ahijo was talking to the Frontier government. He was not talking to the Frontier as an individual. He talked to his government. So that answers the question, to whom shall we talk? France, Yaoundé, and all the acolytes. France knows very well. France instructed Yaoundé to abolish the government. Government is back. France is sending the ambassador across the place to come and talk to us. Now, the government of France will talk to the government of Southern Cameroon. The government of the UK did not stand and speak for us. The government of the UK was directed to be along with the government of Amazonia and talk with the government of Cameroon. 3 governments. So nobody should mince the words. Secondly, it solves the other problem of our own brothers and sisters who have been singing the song, let us meet and agree on what to talk. Let us meet and agree on what we have to say. We don't need it. We have a government. We don't need to call another or Anglophone conference as they call it. We don't need it. If you have ideas that you think must be put forward, send it to the government to be evaluated, to be taken care of. So that is a very important part of the message, which he said. They added that in democracy, that will hope to put out one. The idea of a government, of leadership, is not 100% acceptance. No, there will always be opponents. But it is the rule of the majority. Even if that majority is so slim, they constitute the government. May I use it to remind our people that in 1961, when they were talking about the frontier government, the West Cameroon House of Assembly, Southern Cameroon House of Assembly, had only 26 MPs. It was a parliamentary system. There was opposition. Frontiers KNDP, that formed the government, had only 14 out of the 26 MPs. They had only 1 vote majority. Because if we were to divide it by 2, it should be 13. But they had a majority of 1. And they still constituted the government of British Southern Cameroon. So when you talk of government, we're not expecting all the groups to come and sit down on the table and say, sing like the choir, answer amen, answer hallelujah, to make it work. It's a simple majority. The majority takes note. They don't do it alone. The majority does not ignore what the opposition is saying. They take into account what the opposition is saying. Which is why, again, when we went to Fumba as a government, we went to Fumba. Foncha went with his KNDP, with his government ministers, but they did not leave out the opposition. The opposition that was headed by Dr. Ndele was in Fumba. They were not just there, they were given the privilege to give the second opening speech in the Fumba conference. There were 3 speeches made. Ayo made 1, Foncha made 1. Ndele, who was the opposition, made 1. Foncha government did not ignore the opposition. They even went in with people who were there, who had no representation in the National Assembly. The OK from the Tumeza. They also had 2 delegates in Bamenda, in Fumba. The Tumeza himself and Abemuka. So I think the president sent out the correct message to the people who criticize us. And to say again and to emphasize this idea of a government and of why we have changed from Amber Boys, from all these groups, to Ambazonian state armed forces. Because they do more as a state army, they take more responsibility, they have proper coverage from their own government if they do commit any errors.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question.
Sure, Barrister
Over to
Tim, you
you.
see, the thing with the president's speech, he always gets to talk about unity in purpose, and that's something we've also dealt with before. Now, looking into the broader spectrum of the significance of the policy statement of the president that were made, what would you say is the state of mind of President Sako when it comes to collaboration between Ambazonian military as well as the government, when it comes to Ambazonia in general, persecuting the liberation movement, either from within the government or as activists? What would you say is the state of mind?
I've had the opportunity to say it many times before. The President Sako is a person, as an individual, is a person with a vision. He understands our problem. He has a vision, and he is a person who has worked out a strategy. His strategy cannot be challenged. You want to challenge it, bring a similar strategy. Again, and he, as the leader of this government, has never been a do-it-alone person. Yes, he hates the government. When at the least opportunity, he doesn't leave out his critics. He doesn't leave out even those who want his head, who want his head on the platter of gold. He invites them. Remember the act, Ambassador Coalition Team? It was created for the purpose of negotiations with the Swiss-led initiative. He brought the Swiss-led initiative. And when the initiative was matured, he did not do it alone. He invited even his greatest critics to join him in the act, AACT, Ambassador Coalition Team. So back to your question, I think he's a person with a very, very far-away vision that most of us don't have. He has good strategies that will work. And so he has these qualities. It doesn't mean that others know nothing. I've said it just a few seconds ago. If you have something to add, or to suggest, to subtract, the venue is not social media. China is the rightful areas. What you have as a suggestion will be properly evaluated. It will be tabled at the appropriate time. Over to you.
All right, Barrister Tim, if you have anything summarily to say in few seconds in regards to the president's speech or in general the news of today, we'd just like you to wrap it up here so we get on with the rest of the news for tonight.
Yeah, I think what I can say is that I was trying to analyze that we should look at the events that happened on Saturday with a hindsight on what happened before Saturday, the visit of the ambassador of France to Benda. They know from France that Benda is an Olympic center. They know that, for example, in politics, in those days of Southern Cameroon, West Cameroon, or call it whatever you call it, the SDF was launched in Bamenda over the blood of Ambazonians. They went forward 2 years after launching to win the national election campaign, even though it was torpedoed. And so, what the French ambassador did, as I said, if France, if Macron is watching here, which is he watching, because that was his agent, you should know that doing what he was trying to do or attempting to do is not finding a solution to the problem. He's trying to solve a different problem. Decentralization, creation of jobs is not Ambazonia's problem. The problem, which we always want people to understand, our problem, the fight, the struggle, is about we're fighting against assimilation, absorption, not development. Decentralization is development. Reconstruction is development. That is not what we need. We've not asked for that. Once we go back home, as I said before, we have our own money. We can put the roads we want. We can put our airports. We don't need Yaoundé to help us. We don't even need France to help us. And France knows this. France instructed Ahidjo to abolish the federation through a referendum in 1972. France instructed Paul Biya in 1984 to return to the Republic of Cameroon. So they know all this. I'm not imagining it. I think in 1965, 67, there was an official communique that leaked out from France telling Paul Ahidjo that you are not absorbing this people as fast as you thought. It would take a long time for you to absorb or to assimilate Anglophone. This was in writing from Paris. So they know all this. So this coming and doing this one by them is time of waste of time. And again, we end up again with this cause in Amazonia, in Bamenda, and everywhere in Amazonia to go register to vote. We have said we are not voting, not because there's war, even in Amazonia now. We are not part of the Republic. Let them do the elections the way they want. Have the president, whoever is the leader, that will be our neighbor. That will be the leader of our neighboring country. So coming to campaign in Bamenda, in Boe, or wherever, for people to register and vote, it's a waste of time. We're not part of them. Because they are not going to campaign in the Congo Republic, in Central African Republic. They don't cross the border to go and do that. So we are not restricted to vote, essentially one, because we are not part of the Republic of Cameroon. Whatever thing Popia is doing there, it deserves the government to have. If they don't want it, they can change it. If they want it, by any means that they want. We are not part of them. And to crown it all again, we think that our brothers and sisters who are wearing the Republic flag clothes and postulating in Amazonia anywhere in the name of elections, in the name of reconstruction, in the name of anything they call it, they are wasting their time. But they know it because if I look across the board, the bulk of them are well-educated people. Lawyers, magistrates, turned politicians, professors who studied not in the jungle universities of Cameroon, they studied in UK, they studied in American universities, they studied in French universities. So they know this more than we do. And so that is the news you should take home. And the other thing that we will do to be sure that we'll get what we want is to draft.
All right, Barrister Sim.
And draft.
Yes. You couldn't have been any
Over
more
to you.
correct than drafting till you drop. Thank you, Barrister Tim, for joining us on the show for tonight. Without to call it a close here on Undaunted.
Over to you. Thank you very much.
All right, so Barrister Tim, hopefully tomorrow would continue with the rest of the analysis of the president's speech. Well, this is where we'll draw the conclusion on tonight's Undaunted. See you tomorrow.